Hi everybody, this is Dan Talks Sense, and today I'll be dropping a review of a fragrance that was once discontinued but has now been re-released by the house of Jean Paul Gaultier. It's called Gaultier Squared. So in today's review I'm going to give you an idea of what this fragrance smells like, a bit about its performance and projection, fragrances I think it smells similar to, and whether I think it's worth you rushing out there to go and buy this recently re-released fragrance. So if that kind of content would interest you, then please stay tuned. Welcome back everybody. Now first of all I just want to apologise because I haven't dropped any content for a while. I've had a lot going on in my life. I changed jobs and I'm really enjoying life at the moment. But I've regained my passion for fragrances. I've been trying on a lot of different samples in work. And recently, Jean Paul Gaultier did a vote on their website to reintroduce a fragrance they discontinued a number of years back. There was a couple of fragrances to choose from, and one of them was this one from the house called Gaultier Squared. This was a 2005 release. And it's always been on my radar. I own a number of fragrances from the house of Jean Paul Gaultier, and I own a couple of vintage La Mals. I own Fleur de Mal La Cologne and Fleur de Mal the EDT. Fantastic fragrances which I do need to do a review of further down the line. And this was one of the ones, vintage discontinued fragrances, that I was looking to get my hands on. The prices of these on eBay and Amazon and places like that are astronomical. You could probably be paying over £100 for Gaultier Squared, its original formulation. So when they said to the people out there, you know, we can bring this one back, this was always, I believe, going to win that vote because this is highly thought of fragrance. Now I have been looking at Fragrantica feedback and opinions from people and fragrance groups that I'm part of, and some people have said that it's missing some of the depth of the original formulation. However, it does smell very similar to the original formulation, and that's in both groups I'm in and on Fragrantica. So people are really happy that it was brought back. For me, I haven't managed to smell the original formulation, which might be a good thing. The only thing I can't do is compare this to the original formulation, say how close it is. But what I can do is review this with an open mind. It's a brand new fragrance for me, and give you my thoughts on this one. Now, usually when I do reviews, I give you first impressions on camera, but I have been wearing this a number of times. I picked this up in the mail on Tuesday. I'm part of a fragrance group called Certified Scent Sellers on Facebook, and one of the members jokingly manages to get fragrances imported from Spain and different places early on. So in the UK this has not been released yet, and I've managed to get my hands on this luckily and get a week's worth of testing it. So before I just crack into my overall thoughts on the fragrance, I think it's important to do a close-up of the presentation because people do appreciate that. But if you're just interested in finding out my conclusion of fragrance, then feel free to skip to the end of the video. So as we look at the presentation, I just want to say that I really like the Gaultier Squared bottle. You've got the gold choker on there to stop any unnecessary juice slipping out. I like the gold sprayer. You can see the juice inside. I've got 30 mils that I bought off a seller in the fragrance group I'm in. The box is quite simple on the front with Gaultier Squared written on there with the eau de parfum at the bottom. But if you look at the back, what I really like about this is you've got a description of when the fragrance was originally created and a description of the notes in there and what family you class as fragrance as. As I get into the fragrance review, I think they've got it spot on with the woody floral powdery description, and I'll explain that shortly. So guys, I'm going to give you some pros and cons of this fragrance in this conclusion. But first of all, I just want to praise Jean Paul Gaultier for re-releasing a fragrance that was discontinued. You know, we're so passionate in Fragcom that we go and pay hundreds of pounds sometimes for fragrances that have been discontinued because the DNA smells so good, and sometimes fragrances bring back really sentimental memories for us. So fair play to them. I hope other fragrance houses follow suit and do something similar. So first of all, let's talk about the good stuff about this fragrance. It's got that sort of vintage feel to it. The musks in this are quite animalic. So by animalic, I mean it's sort of, I can detect that really soapy, clean smell that sometimes in chorus, for example, people say it reminds them of pub urinals, you know, like a public house. And sometimes it puts them off. It's a bit of a random smell, and I did detect that in this fragrance, but it wasn't too overpowering. If you manage to get your hands on Fleur de Mal La Cologne, the animalic side of that is really overpowering and can put you off the fragrance, but you pick it up a little bit in this one, and it gives you that throwback feel, that sort of old school gentleman feel of the fragrance. What I did like is I loved the scent of vanilla, the smell of vanilla. It's a real cozy smell. This isn't a thick vanilla like you'd get in sort of a oud vanille or tobacco vanille, a fragrance like that. This was sort of an airy vanilla smell that was quite light and delicate. You could detect it, and it was similar, you know, to the vanilla that you get in La Mal, but just nowhere near as sweet. You could detect it, but nowhere near as sweet. And I'll say this is a nicely blended fragrance. It doesn't change a great deal, but it's nicely blended, it's cozy. I kept going in to sniff my wrist, and so I'd say for scent character, I'd say it's really basic, but it was a nice smell. It did get me a compliment. Now I do get a lot of stick from my work colleagues when I wear my oud fragrances. They take the mick at me saying that they're quite pungent and stuff. This is an office friendly scent, but somebody did come into the office and say somebody smells nice in here, and I did say I bet that was me. It might not have been, but I think it was me. But you know, it's so from that aspect, really good, really liked it. Talk about the cons of this fragrance, things I didn't like so much. It's very basic, so it doesn't change a great deal, and there's more jasmine in there than I thought there would be. So the jasmine in this is more prominent than any other note, and it's more of a floral scent. So if you're looking for something that was more resinous, vanilla based, cozy, veering kind of towards the gourmand side, you know, it's not going to be for you. This is more of a fresher than I thought, and more soapy. So when I was wearing this, the jasmine made it fresh and clean, and veered it more to the feminine side, but not too much where you felt uncomfortable wearing it or felt that it wasn't for you. For me, it is a unisex scent, and the different facets of it that come in put it in the middle. I'd say the musks that come in put it towards the masculine side. The florals take it a bit more to the feminine side. Vanilla for me is a universal scent that can be enjoyed by all. So yeah, this is a perfect unisex scent. With the performance, this stayed on my skin for a good 7 hours, and I was going in to sniff my wrist because of how good it smelled. Real comforting smell, but the projection, it only projected for the first couple of hours and then went closer to the skin. So for me, I like my fragrances to project all day, and I like people to smell me, so that was a bit of a disappointment. What would I compare it to? It did remind me of a bit of CK1 with that sort of soapy, clean smell, and it's a sort of a fragrance you could wear in the house after you've had a wash. You could go and put this on. It's really comforting in the evenings. So it reminded me of that one. In terms of the vanilla, it wasn't like an oud vanille or tobacco vanille. It was more, I would say, the one fragrance it did remind me of, if you have smelt it, was Fleur de Mal. For me, it's got the different parts of Fleur de Mal, the floral notes that take it away from the La Mal DNA. So it did remind me of that one. So it had the DNA of Lamel, more floral, but not as floral as Fleur de Mal. So I'd say if you had the line of fragrances, this is somewhere in between. So yeah, cleaner, more floral than I thought it was going to be, but I did enjoy it. And it's quite different from other fragrances I've got in my line. Some people have said that it hasn't got the depth of the original, and that's a shame if that's the case. If you have managed to smell the original and smell the new formulation, could you let me know in the comments if you think there are any differences? Is it a fragrance that I'm going to get a full bottle of? I don't think so, because there are many fragrances I've got in my collection now with that vanilla dominant note, which I feel that I enjoy slightly more than this one. However, if you really enjoyed the original, I think you should definitely try and get your hands on this one, because a lot of the feedback has been that the DNA is still very similar. So I definitely would go out and get a bottle if you really enjoyed the original DNA. I hope you enjoyed that, my thoughts on the fragrance today. If you could give me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to see more content from myself, please hit that subscribe button down below. I will be dropping another video this weekend on Mancera Tonka Cola shortly. But please let me know your thoughts on this fragrance down below in the comments. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts. And thank you for watching my video today. I'll speak to you all very soon.